Okay, so this is what we have right now. Let me show you my system. And my system has a Core i3 12100F, and it is packed with the GPU is packed with RTX 2060 6 GB variant. I also have 16 GB RAM in it, although it's not showing here. But let's continue. Another thing that I want to add is that I am running the game while screen recording, and also I am going to use the MSI Afterburner, so it is going to be a little bit more it is going to use a little bit more CPU. And if you do not care about recording or the replay mode or any other stuff like that, you will get a little bit offload from your CPU for your game to run faster. Anyways, two I have made two modded Minecraft mod packs. One is it for Forge and another is Fabric. So let's just jump into the Forge version first, and let's see how many FPS do we really get in Minecraft Forge version 1.19.2. It is going to take a little bit more time than regular vanilla Minecraft because it has a lot of mods, so it is going to take some time. So let's just wait. Okay, so we are in the game, and let me show you. I already have a world generated for me. Now if you start generating a new world, it is going to take a long time than the regular vanilla Minecraft. So here we are, and as you can see, my CPU right now is running at 100% because all of the chunks are loading, and it is a very CPU heavy task. And since my CPU lacks CPU just has 4 cores and 8 threads, that's why it is running at 100%. Now since all the terrain has been loaded, all the chunks are loaded, now my CPU's usage has decreased. But since we start moving, you can see my CPU is running at all the time 100%, which is which is a problem, as it can cause major lag if you put a lot of mobs and stuff around, and you make machines. It's going to get a little bit laggy, and I'm going to show you how the lag actually feels if you have too many machines around each part. Anyways, sorry for the wait, as there is a cockroach in my room. Anyways, so where am I? Okay, I was actually talking about how although the game is running much smoother, but if you put more stuff around you like machines, you are going to see a lot of lag, which is why I made this house in creative. You can see it has a windmill, and if you come to the bottom, you can see all the great machines have been connected to this. Now everything kind of looks fine, and you can see it's almost running pretty easily. But let's just put more stuff around and see how it reacts. That Let's take a lot of potatoes and just put it here. Still no FPS drops. And let's see. And let's take some obsidian. Okay, let's just put some here. our game is running pretty fine right now. Let's put some obsidian to this grindstone. Let's put all the obsidians and see if there is any lag. Okay, currently we are not having any lag or something, which is a good thing for us as the game is running around. But you can see as we move around this part here and there is a little bit FPS drop as we move or go to another scene. And this is basically with the vanilla texture packs. Now if if I increase the if I turn on the shaders, I guess it is going to be a little bit more choppy. Let's go. And with the shaders we are basically getting around 20. Yeah, we are touching 20 FPS. Let's get here, and you can basically see the problem is in Forge, and the reason it is most necessarily it is happening because Forge is not very optimized. All the optimization mods are either from are the unofficial forks of Fabric Edition, and that's why it has a little bit of stuttering and lag problem, which is unfortunately a bad thing. As Forge has a lot of good add-on mods for Create, which is not available for Fabric version, so you will not be able to have the most fun with the shaders and everything until and unless you have a better CPU to work with. Overall, it is extremely laggy at this point, and so you cannot play with shaders. You need to turn off the shaders, otherwise the game will be choppy. But yeah, if you want to play this, you can basically uh, easily play without the shaders, and there would be no such extra lags and problems going around. And also I forgot to show you the video settings. So basically I kept my FPS to 100 FPS, so if you increase it, we will get a little bit more FPS, and I turned off the VSync, and everything else I guess is at fancy. The chunks is at 8 chunks. I forgot to mention another part is that Distant Horizons actually recommends that you should have 8 chunks to 12 chunks of render distance. This will reduce the lag significantly, and since you are running Distance Horizons anyway, you will see little to no lag here. And as you can see, as we uh, increase the frame rate generation, we are easily achieving 220 FPS here and there, but there is a little bit of stuttering when we are moving close to the machines. But overall this game is pretty much very much playable in the settings, and you can easily enjoy this game without any problems. That's why I usually do not like a lot of FPS, because when the FPS drops you can suddenly see that there is a FPS drop. So it is better if I put this at 100, if I cap this at 100 FPS, and so there would be little to minimal lag, and there is a breathing room for my GPU, so in heavy demanding positions my GPU can give me good FPS. but overall the but overall it is not very stable, and there are problems such as if you use a dynamic light mod pack with Forge, there would be significant lag. I forgot that I have a dynamic light mod, so let's check. Okay, I have a dynamic light mod pack, and you can see the game feels a little bit choppy here and there because of the light ticks, and this is something that actually affects your gameplay a lot. It is There are a few stutters here and there when we are testing a dynamic light source, which is something that we do not need, which we actually want to avoid. Unfortunately, it would be a problem. So if you don't care about dynamic lights and you don't care about any other stuff, you can pretty much play this Forge edition without any hassle. So let's just off this and let's go here. Let's quit this game, and now let me show you the fabric mod pack that I made. Basically it is similar to the Forge edition, except some of the mods are missing in fabric, which I cannot replace with anything else. It has basically all the Let's Do mods and Aquimare. I hope I pronounced it properly, and it has Create, and instead of Tectonic, for the terrain generation, it has, I guess, Epic Terrain. And basically it also looks good, but it also stretches the map by a lot. I mean, the biomes are going to be extremely big, not as big as lithosphere, but they actually run for a while. So, and of course, if you have a lower count CPU, it's going to take a very long time to actually load all of those chunks. So once again, if you want to play a terrain mod, you need a high core count CPU and also a faster CPU. Both is necessary. Without that, your game is going to you have to wait for a little bit after the CPU loads everything. Anyways, I also have created a world for you, so it takes a little bit less time. Okay, here we are in our world. As you can see, once again the CPU is running at 100% because it is a very CPU heavy task, the chunk generation, and it is going to take a few time. After that we will get all the chunks ready. Hmm. I guess with that all our chunks are ready, which is a very good thing. But anyways, let me show you the settings for this version also. I set up the render distance to 8 because it is the recommended settings for distant horizons. Simulation distance is also at 12. So I also reduce the VSync, turn off the VSync, and the FPS is capped at 100, but for the sake of the test, let's just increase it to see how much FPS do we really get. So actually we are not getting a lot of FPS as it was flying in case of you know Forge, although I was not using the shader packs. So let's just disable the shader pack for this time and see how much FPS do we really get. So without the shader packs, we are getting around 300 something FPS. It's a good thing. I mean, we would have little to no lag, but once again, it is taking a very long time to actually render the distance, render everything. It's taking a little bit more time. And for a long time, I was actually talking about the CPU a lot of the time. Let's take a look at the GPU also. Okay, so I can't see those mountains. It doesn't make any sense. I actually installed the distant horizons. I can see it is looking like this, but all the other parts are getting off out of it. I don't understand why it is happening. So maybe I should cap the FPS so that my CPU gets a breathing room to load all the other chunks that were missing. And this is why I'm telling you that capping your FPS to 100 or even lower or higher is necessary. Otherwise, your CPU cannot load all the chunks that are all the faraway chunks, and you will be left with LOD holes everywhere, which you do not want. So this is how it looks. I think all of the terrain has been generated, I guess. Now let's just on put the FPS to unlimited to see how many FPS are we getting. So we are getting around 300, almost 270 to 60. Okay, we are getting 270 FPS at an average. The highest FPS we touch is 457, which is good. But you don't really need that many FPS, so it is a good sign that you can turn on the shaders and you will get a pretty good gameplay. Let's see. With the shaders on, we are getting around 100 FPS, which is a good thing. I mean, it is good with 100 FPS. Now let's just cap the FPS to 100 so our GPU and CPU both gets a breathing room and they can comfortably load the chunks and doesn't cause any LOD holes now. Now let's test this. This is, I guess, an iron farm. So let's test this thing and see around machines how much lag it causes. Although I would recommend, if you want to play this game efficiently and want to make more machines, it is a good idea that you make smaller compact machines. It will reduce the lag. I mean, yes, it will reduce the overall lag, and you can build more machines like this. Otherwise, the more moving parts you add to your world, then it is going to heavily use your CPU, and that will cause serious lags or stuttering, which you do not want. Anyways, let's turn on this machine and see. Okay, we are still getting around 70 FPS, which is a pretty good sign. You can play this game pretty easily with create mods, I guess. But I am still saying that you need to optimize your mods. You cannot make big machines and your CPU cannot handle them. So overall we are getting around 80 FPS. It is producing nice iron ingots, which is a good thing. 7 iron ingots. Overall it is pretty slow. Let's just increase the speed to full. Let's see how much lag does it causes. it's not causing much lag. So overall, the game is working pretty fine, and you would have no problems while playing and recording your gameplay. Also, it is pretty much very smooth experience to play this game. Once again, there are a few little issues that I can say. The first thing is, out of my 16 GB RAM, almost 13 GB of my RAM is getting utilized, which is not terrible, but I mean, we are almost at the end of 16 GB. So, if there are more stuff, I mean, you are just not going to fly around everywhere and call it a day. You would want to build yourself some different stuff here and there, and all of that things are going to consume more of your CPU and RAM. So yeah, 32 GB RAM would be a much better option. And overall, if you have more cores in your CPU, it's good for you. But overall, yes, if you have more cores in your CPU, it's good for you. If your CPU has strong single core performance, it is also good for the chunk generation. So if you want to play this game on an i3 12100F with if you want to play Minecraft modded version in i3 12100F, it is kind of capable because it has one of the most strongest single core performance. So what are my recommendations, and what CPU can you use for a better gaming experience? So, if there would have been no stable instability issues with Intel, I would surely recommend 13600K or 14600K because of the extra cores and threads that you are getting in that CPU, which would have helped a lot in your gameplay experience. However, it has an overheating issues, plus it is kind of also unstable, plus power hungry, so it kind of doesn't make any sense. Currently in 2025, all the AM4 CPUs have the prices of the AM4 CPUs have been reduced, so you can easily get yourself a 5700X or 5800X for like 13 to 15,000 rupees INR. But and if you pair it with 32 GB RAM, it would be much better experience. Overall, you can see my GPU is not getting utilized and we are still hitting 100 FPS. So GPU is not the bottleneck in this case. Once again, modded Minecraft is mostly CPU heavy. So if you have a beefy CPU with 6 to 8 cores and multiple threads, you will be mostly fine. And for if you want to go for a newer architecture like the X3D variants CPUs of AMD, the X3D more cache can actually be utilized by the Minecraft game also, but we are we know that many people cannot afford the X3D CPUs. So if you want to go with AM5, I guess 9600X will also be a good option. However, the budget varies, so it depends upon you what CPU and GPU, what CPU you want to take. Overall, i3 is a good CPU, but if you also want to screen record and make content creations out of it, which is, by the way, I am not using the replay mode which is available. You can see replay mode is something that you get yourself in the Fabric version. So if you also want to record, use the replay mode, it is going to consume even more CPU. So it is always a good idea to have uh, more cores and threads for a better headroom, and so you can play your games much smoothly. I hope this video helps, as it also clears the answer of what you really need for modded Minecraft. And although we are playing at a very low render distance, but this is totally fine. Overall, the game, even with shaders, look perfectly fine. You are going to move like this, and I don't see any problem with that. If you increase the render distance now, if you increase the render distance, there would be a drop in FPS. So that's up to you whether you want to do that or not. You can see our FPS has dropped a little bit from, you can see, from 90 FPS we are now getting at 60s and 70s. So if you increase the render distance, the CPU is going to the CPU usage has increased by a lot, which will cause some stutters, and this is something you do not want to do. And it doesn't matter if you increase the render distance, because after all, at the end of the day, you are going to use the distance horizon modes. Although it looks flat, but from a far distance it's look pretty cool. There is nothing wrong with this. So I hope this video helps you a lot. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next video. Thank you.